I'm excited about this one. It's reflective leader. I think a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s, guys that are listening to this, are probably learning this in real time. You may have just gotten a job, or you may have been in the same job for a few years, or you've transitioned to another job, whatever your situation is. You're learning how to lead, and you're also learning that it might be appropriate to lead even though you're not in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And so what exactly does that look like?
We appreciate all those still listening. Appreciate those I've gotten a couple of recent texts, people enjoying what we're doing, Bo. So that's positive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, I'd love to get up to a couple thousand downloads, but here we are.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, if this is something resonating, let us know, because I've really feels like it's kind of like the culmination, a little bit of my life's work. Which is, good. And so sometimes it feels a little vulnerable, but here we are.
That's why I'm honored to be here, for real. Thanks for having me again, for real. I love it. I like to come in here and record. Really, you haven't figured this out yet, but it's a free counseling session for me. So,
man, I should have been charging.
We just record it, so appreciate that, man.
Yeah, of course.
So we are in the 5 pillars, the curriculum that Cartwright put together that is rolling out soon, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess by the time I post this, it will be in the first or second week of my pilot group. So this is a full program that I'm kind of slow rolling for the next 6 weeks. Already got 8 guys signed up for it, and it's going to be on Tuesdays. It's going to be a more comprehensive program rolling out in the fall, where there's going to be different components to it, with just not just the peer discussion group, and but we're going to have different components like one-on-one mentoring and different stuff. But right now, it's just going to be the content, just like 50 minutes. I mean, really, guys come in about 6:45, try to get them out even before 7:45, so they can get to work on time. So
perfect.
If you interested in hearing more about that, feel free to reach out. But yeah, I'm excited.
Do it. I'm excited too. 8 guys, you said?
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to come be a shadow on the wall for one of those.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, the 5 pillars, what you call the full framework, it spells out Forge, which I think I misspelled last week. Forge is tricky. No, it's FORGE. We did F. F is faithful son. Personally, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't gotten to all of them, so I can't say that yet. But so far, that's my favorite. That's what's resonated the most with me. If you don't know much about that one, you can go back and look at the previous episode where we talked about it for about an hour, right?
Yeah. I posted it, I guess, for y'all. What's tomorrow's 22nd? So I posted it on the 15th.
Yeah.
Posted on tax day.
Yeah, perfect.
Tax day.
Yep. And then
you got to learn to be a faithful son on tax day.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. You have no choice. Faithful son of Uncle Sam.
Oh.
And then the second is offensive servant. So that one will be coming out, I guess, tomorrow. But if you're listening to this, it was last week. So sorry, that's confusing. Or I just made it confusing. And then this week, I'm excited about this one. It's reflective leader. And what I think is cool about this one is I think a lot of guys in their 20s and 30s, guys that are listening to this, are probably learning this in real time. Because you may have just gotten a job, or you may have been in the same job for a few years, or you've transitioned to another job, whatever your situation is. You're learning how to lead, and you're also learning that it might be appropriate to lead even though you're not in a leadership position.
Yeah.
And so what exactly does that look like? So the first thing you have underneath there is you don't just react, you reflect, learn, then lead with wisdom. So leading is not just reacting with emotion all the time, right? I guess we know a lot of people like that. But it's reflecting, learning, and then leading with wisdom, which I think is really good.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this one is kind of apex of everything I do, because I mean, so much of what I'm trying to do is build these reflective leaders, because I would say that y'all have heard me talking about this. Reflective leader is the third option, and the other two are generally, we've all been around the reactive leader, the guy who's just snap judgments, snap decisions, basically makes a very large mess and, generally has a low threshold for failure, disappointment, holds a different standard for people that he doesn't hold for himself, he or she, right? Not to be, but this is a men's podcast, right?
Yeah.
And so they have a high turnover rate, all that. And then you got the passive leader that's probably creates too much of autonomy, not a lot of accountability, basically does, is kind of, flowing through with the wind, reacts, is also can be very reactive with trends and sounding good and expects people, it gives a lot of responsibility, not a lot of authority, or has, you know, different expectations for different people, right? It's just I think we've all kind of worked for either one of these two. Or then there's the reflective leader, someone who really speaks from a place of wisdom and experience. They've allowed chaos, whether it's chaos or even structure, to kind of mold them into like, okay, I'm not always going to make the right decision, but I'm humble enough to know that I don't know everything, but I'm confident enough to do something that serves the organization, the people around me, or and also that creates meaningful change or success, right? And and usually that's the type of person that a key component is that what did they do with failure?
Yeah.
Or success, both. What did they learn from winning and losing? And they didn't just brush it to the side. They didn't just like put their head down, but they actually looked at it and go, okay, what was good? What was bad? What do I need to get better at? How do I need to respond better? Right? They're just always learning. They believe they're a lifelong learner. That's a reflective leader. People that we've really seen successful is they've become very confident in what they need to do or what they're good at. But they're not like so ego-based pride where they're like, they're not thinking about being great at everything. And they allow people to come be underneath them and go, oh, this person's great at that I'm not great at, and allow them to thrive. That's the kind of reflective leader. Real quick, probably gave too much of a word vomit, but that's kind of a little bit.
No, that's good. It's interesting. So just hearing you say that, I feel like now, so I'm in my mid-30s, which is weird to say.
34?
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway.
When's your birthday again?
February 18th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, mid-30s.
Why did I not know you had a February birthday?
Because you don't pay attention.
I don't. Bad.
No, but for real. So I kind of had the thought in hearing you say there's a reflective leader, there's passive leader, and then what was the third one? Reactive?
Passive, reflective, reactive.
Reactive. So I think just in hearing this say that, I think my first thought is if you're not learning this stuff intentionally, you will default to either the passive or the reactive leader, right? Because I feel like anytime you add pressure of running a business or a ministry or anything like that, it's so easy to default into being reactive, right? Because you're like, man, I'm worried about these other things to keep this thing afloat,
And the people that aren't worried about it are idiots and need to get in line and figure it out.
Right. And so I could easily see myself slipping into that as you start looking into like, making sure your business thrives and does well. And then with passive too. I mean,
usually what happens is passive, people think is the antithesis of reactive. That's what they end up becoming. It's like, oh, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be a jerk. I want to, I want my employees to like me. I want, I don't want to, I've had that. So this is the solution. And you're like, no, that's not how that works. Right. People need accountability. People want strong leadership structure. Someone who's got a backbone and a plan of how to move forward, right? They want standards. At the end of the day, like they may not like it at first, but eventually they go, because it was interesting. Both type of leaders, the reactive and the passive, end up having high turnover rates because the best performers don't want to be around a passive leader. because they want high standards, right? Because they want to see their success being rewarded. But then but they also don't want to be around reactive because they're not appreciated or valued.
Yeah.
Right. And they're constantly put down for being really good at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because this person's insecure about who they,
Yeah.
Maybe the reactive leader is more of an insecure leader. Both of them are kind of insecure.
I was going to say, I mean, yeah, they might be. It sounds like in order to be a reflective leader, you're sacrificing a lot of ego, right? Because you're saying, well, hold on, let me understand you first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not so much saying, no, this is what you need to get it.
Yeah.
You need to get on board or get out. Which you've had to coach me how to stuff like that before. No, that's really cool. And I kind of almost I don't know if this may not be right, but I almost, at least in the brief reading of this, in preparation for this episode, I almost feel a little bit of empathy for the reactive and passive leader because it's I get it.
That's what you know.
I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Go ahead.
But bad transition. But I really do. It's almost like I could see how you could easily slip into that. But then in turn, it makes me appreciate the reflective leaders even more because it's like, these are the type of people that really understand their role and that are diving into what do I need to do in order to empower the people around me so the whole organization thrives. It just feels like there's an extra step those people are willing to take that others aren't.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like, a real practical step you can take is taking a course. So anyway, but yeah, that's the other thing on there is that this pillar builds the habit of honest self-examination. So your leadership flows from insight and not impulse.
Yeah. Insight versus impulse. Oh, man. Yeah, it's like we all want to be that guy, but we're not willing to probably do the stuff to become that guy.
What's some of the stuff you got to do?
One, you got to be confronted. You got to be confrontable. You got to be willing to take feedback and challenge. Here, I actually read that this morning, and I'm going to hit this, and it's around Tim Keller talking about Christians unwilling to people that it's in the context of the Bible, but I think it's really for anything. And I think this is a good lesson right here. All right. So this is from his book, The Reason for God. So if we let our unexamined beliefs undermine our confidence in the Bible, the cost may be greater than we think. If we don't trust the Bible enough to let it challenge and correct your thinking, how could you ever have a personal relationship with God? In any truly personal relationship, the other person has to be able to contradict you. And so what I mean by that, I think in the context of leadership, right? You have to have voices. You have to allow voices to speak. This is in the context of your relationship with God and the Bible, but I think also it's just, are you allowing truth to be in your organization and your leadership style and the people around you? Are you allowing people to say, hey, I think that's not right?
Yeah.
Or, hey, did you think of it this way? And the thing is what's so bad is, and that's what I mean by the dispelling of your ego. When you allow others to have voices, you don't necessarily have to take their advice, but you give them a place to speak. You may get some other ideas that are probably better, than your own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We're just so limited in our own thinking. And that's why you have a team. That's why you have people around you. But most of us are so attached to our own, voices, our own, ideas that it's like anything outside of that, it's like, we get so dismissive of or belittling it because we're so obsessed with it. We're terrified if we're wrong. And so I think learning to confront that is how can I be okay with being wrong sometimes?
Yeah.
Because I think that creates more, when you're allowing yourself to do that, you have better relationships, people trust you more, which in a leadership organizational context, that's just that's a game changer.
Yeah.
I feel like I can come in your office and say, hey, the way this happened, I don't like how this played out. Just would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Oh yeah.
You know?
And having the freedom to do that, because if you don't have a place where you can do stuff like that, it'll stay inside of you and it'll fester and it'll turn into something completely different a few months down the road. It'll turn from like, I disagreed from this one situation with whoever's leading me. I can't bring light to it because I'm not confident that in how they'll react, because they may be a reactive leader. And then 2 months from now, it could, at least for me, like it could turn from like just a work thing and then it festers into something even like personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So just not being able to get it out, not having the freedom. One thing, I talk about Michael a lot on here. Michael's my boss. Michael, one thing I really, really have learned from him, he gives us the freedom. So it's Michael's our CEO, and then we've got a layer of directors underneath him, and I'm one of the directors, and we have a leadership meeting every Thursday. And one of my jobs is to lead the leadership meeting, so that he can kind of observe and, you know, add input. And we had one time, this was recently, where him and I disagreed on something about our sales process.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about his approach was, or what I liked about the organization he's built, is I knew that I could say, hey, I disagree with this. And his response was, that's fine. You can disagree. That's noted. We're doing this though.
Right. Yeah.
And then it turned from like, okay, well, at least he knows. And then now I'm going to be a good follower, and I'm going to do what he says. You know what I mean? A lot
Voice
of
is still valued in the room. If something else I agree with, I can still voice it.
100%. So he's able to, in a way, really do both. You're being heard, but we're going to do it his way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's always open to input. He's always open to us taking ownership of the buckets that we own in the company. But when it comes to a decision needing to be made, he's going to be the final voice and final say on, this is what we're doing.
Right.
Whether you agree or don't agree. And it's not personal.
Yes.
And so it doesn't allow that to stay inside of me, fester, and turn into something completely different. You know what I mean?
So yeah, you being able to do that until you're in those situations. This was so bad. We have to be, this is what I mean by becoming a reflective leader, is you have to put yourself in those situations more and more, because you can start doing that in real time more and more.
Yeah.
The more times you do that, the less you fester on it. You know, but I think as a leader, it's like there is a scientific thing of just like when you're confronted, what ends up happening for all of us, whether you're passive, reflective, or a reactive leader, you generally, the cortisol level goes up, and you immediately feel, and you're like, and you want to respond. And whether it's an anger, whatever. But so a reactive leader then responds out of that cortisol level going up and going, either wants to accuse or tell them they're an idiot, belittle their thought, basically push them away because you feel like you're being exposed. A passive leader will then go, I don't like what they're saying, but I want to make them feel better, but not actually do anything about it.
Yep.
But I'm going to make them feel better.
Yeah.
But nothing's going to change. Where a reactive leader goes, okay, I'm feeling this level of cortisol. My blood pressure's kind of rising, not loving what they're saying. Okay. But all right. But I think there's something that they're of value that they're saying. To even Mike, I use your example of Mike probably, and it was like, oh, he's not liking it. Well, at this point, there's no turning back. Thanks, Bo, for your input, but we're gonna continue to move forward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like learning in that real time to just start his processing information.
I mean, his words exactly were.
Yeah.
He said, I mean, I can see it now. He said, "Okay, you're free to disagree. I hear you.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't really allow for like anything other than just gaining more respect. Even though it's almost like the reflective leader in a way gives, even when you disagree, that it's still, even in that moment where you have different approaches to some sort of project.
Yeah.
It even allows you to respect them more in a way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, we both understand each other. We just have different viewpoints. But, my respect for you as a leader,
Right.
your way's going to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It almost kind of like, even though it's a disagreement, he did not allow the disagreement to turn into an opportunity to where we butted heads. He turned it into a way where it was like still mutual respect, which then grew the respect even more.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah. It's like something about, because most of us been around where there's not even acknowledgement of the gap, not even acknowledgement of the difference.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I get there's a difference of opinion here, but
don't pretend like it's not there.
Right.
Yeah.
But we still got to move forward. There needs to be action taken. Or, where I think a reflective leader does both, where a passive leader may address the gap, but not really make any action step. Where the reactive leader is like, I don't care about the gap. I don't care what you think or your concern. We're moving forward.
Totally different.
Yeah, completely different. Totally. And it's really interesting. It's funny. So I went to my nephew's baseball game this weekend. He's an 8-year-old baseball. And I started having so much empathy for these 8-year-olds. As the first inning, they had like 5 or 6 errors, and we're down 12-1. Cutting the lead down to 2, but late in the game. But I was like, the moms are screaming. They're overreacting to every play. Yeah. There's some tears going on the field. The coaches are slamming gloves down, throwing hats. There's like you could tell the fans are like, oh, come on. And then it's like, oh, but good job, good effort. It's like they're and so you feel the pressure, and you're almost like, I don't think I'll ever expose my son to this nonsense. But then I start, processing through it as I'm reflecting, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, this is probably really. It can crush someone, or it can really make someone, because you start really going, okay, I'm like, everybody in the room, chill out. These are 8-year-olds. They don't even have the coordination to necessarily catch a ball every time or throw it from third to first.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, literally, they don't have the hand-eye coordination to do that.
Right.
But there is something to say of putting kids, young adults, or even, young men in pressure situations and seeing what happens. Like, we've talked about this, stop being so obsessed with the result. And so I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, yeah, it's probably good for them in the long term. Those that are willing to keep exposing themselves will get really good at the skill set, because they'll start being able to reflect on it and like, oh, the pressure's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It actually allows me to get better at a faster pace, whether in the game versus just in practice. And I was just sitting there thinking about that. I was like, oh, I started having a lot of, maybe my leaning towards my passive side of like, I'm feeling a lot of empathy for these 8-year-olds and kind of getting sad for them. But I'm almost like, no, I think the ones that constantly shrink from the pressure moments don't actually learn from it as much as those willing to get, actually dive in, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, 100%. No, I get that. And unless you define that it is about I guess, unless you're able to step out and be reflective enough to understand, okay, the pressure is a good thing, then when you're in the pressure, you'll never see it that way.
Right.
It'll only be about, okay, what result do we need?
Yeah.
Because of this pressure.
Yeah, like I don't want the coach to yell at me.
Yeah.
Or I don't want the moms to scream on it.
Right. Yeah. That's going to happen anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't control them. You can control you.
I want to talk about one key trait you have listed because I want to get your thoughts on it. So you've got a few key traits, things that we've already hit on. Teachable spirit, right? Learning from failure and success. What I want to hear you talk about is leading others by leading yourself.
Oh, man.
So leading others by leading yourself. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's kind of the whole premise of this whole podcast, right? So how do you actually, maybe it harpens back to the last week's offensive servant mindset, not waiting around for something to happen. But I think it goes back to the second greatest commandment. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. There's something to it's like, hey, I know how to love Bo, and I start learning how to love me. I have higher levels of empathy. I have greater context. Understand from my experience more. I know how to. I would say, Bo, more and more. I'm like, you deal with someone who is super condescending, belittling, and just doesn't know how to talk to people. I'm like, that's how they talk to themselves.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
The more and more I'm like, oh, yeah, that's what deep down I'm realizing, oh, that's how you speak. You think that's how you talk to yourself you beat yourself up every time you don't work out. So you think that's how you should interact with everybody else. And it's like, no, that's not how that works.
So have you
Yeah.
seen that? Have you seen like people that speak that way to others are?
Yeah.
That's how they describe.
Oh yeah, they're insanely hard on themselves.
Huh.
Yeah.
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 That's interesting.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
they're seeing other people through the same lens they see themselves.
Yeah. Though they probably wouldn't hold themselves to the standard they hold other people, which is a contradiction. You should always, that's what I mean. I mean, leading yourself well, you should hold your stand. You should talk to yourself better, but hold yourself to a higher standard than you do others.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's the Michael Jordan thing. I mean, he obviously didn't talk to people great, but he held himself to a higher standard than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we use a lot of sports analogies here. But that's another one, like, I loved, as Auburn fans, we hate talking about Saban, but it was interesting. Like somebody talked about, it's like, hey, is that a lot of pressure, coming to Alabama and there's always pressure to win? He goes, the standard for me is way higher than the fans have for me.
Interesting.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw the result.
Yeah.
So, funny enough, I sat down with a guy. I had to talk with somebody this weekend who said I went to the 2009 national championship that Bama had in the Rose Bowl, and he goes, "Honey, we got to go because we just never know when they're going to be back." Yeah, there is just something too about leading yourself well that others are drawn to. Because if you have a high standard for yourself, people will want to be underneath that. Like the standard for yourself is high, there's something to it, man. But if but because people feel the cognitive dissonance, the hypocrisy of someone who says one thing and does another. It's, unfortunately, it's like, man, and the lack of respect, the lack of, it's
People
just,
pick up on that quick, I feel like, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And so when you set a high standard of like, hey, I am willing to do, I will do anything. I will, what's the line? I think this is what, Jordan said in The Last Dance. It's like, all his teammates said that he was, whatever he called us to do, he was willing to do that times 10.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh,
yeah.
As much as I don't like him, I respect him and I will follow him.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's the thing.
Not to mention how good he was under pressure too.
Oh my gosh.
Best under pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
he embraced the pressure.
Yeah.
A last shot or a, I mean, he wanted all that.
So that was another, talking about just high pressure and reflective leaders. Like somebody said, he has just had the insane ability to be present just in that moment. It's like nothing was too high or too low. Like he was just there.
Yeah.
Like he was the same guy, whether it's a last shot in the third game of the season or if it was game 7.
Yeah.
The end of the season, right?
Yeah.
It was just like, that's who he was. And you're like, oh, there's something about as you're growing reflective and that you're very present. No moment's too big, no problems too high. We're just going to approach it. Yeah. How we know to approach it. Yeah. Anyway.
So what are some ways that guys in their 20s and 30s can lead themselves well so that they can lead others well?
I think one is like, put yourself in some, don't avoid the harder things. I think lead yourself into embrace some level, and then don't be obsessed with the result. Embrace some level of failure. Put yourself in situations where you're just going to fail.
Mm.
In my 20s, I wish I embraced that more. I wish I got more appreciation. Sometimes, I mean, Paul talks about consider it joy, dear brothers, right? That you experience trials of many kinds. Joy is such a hard word to say, but yeah, how can you find enjoyment in it? That's the way to lead yourself well. And then the next is like, okay, after it, learn to ask yourself hard questions. Learn to sit in front of peers or a mentor, somebody you respect, and go, hey, this is what I went into. This is what happened. What do you see? How could I have done it better?
Mm-hmm.
What could have been done differently? What am I missing? What are some of my blind spots? Mm-hmm. Right? Just learn to ask those hard questions. That's a way to lead yourself well. It's just willing to add the hard questions and detach your ego from it. I think that's something core to this course, this program I'm putting together is like, okay, there's things fundamental who I am. Therefore, they do not change. This is my son who I'm well pleased, right? Whom I love, who I'm well pleased. Like we have to live from that place, we talk about living from rest, living from love. Okay, so therefore everything else can be a conversation, can be challenged, right? My actions can be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
It can be, but it doesn't connect it to my identity. Mm-hmm. That's the hard part in your 20s is every criticism, every feedback is this like attack on my identity as a man, as a person, as a professional, right? Oh, I'm not going to get a raise because, you said that I messed up on this, right? It's just everything it's like, no, pull back. It's like, all right, who am I? All right. So therefore everything's open for conversation. And then you can then receive feedback well. Because you're really just looking at the actions, your habits, even your mindsets, but the core identity of who you are it's not changing. This is why I start with the faithful son. Is start there, then move to the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And once you realize that's settled, that's unchanging, that's connected to something eternal, everlasting, then you can start really getting feedback on all the other areas.
Yeah, I guess it's easier to receive feedback when you're seeking it.
Yeah.
Or being proactively open to it, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Or always asking people, whether people you work with, people you work for, people like Cartwright, hey, what could I have done better?
Yeah.
Right? And then logging that, writing it down.
Yeah.
I've kept journals for a long time, and I'm so glad I have because it's so cool to go back and see some of the stuff that I was going through dealing with or whatever. And then, trying to attach a Bible verse to it or some sort of like something to activate my faith or, self-reflect in a way. And then it's so cool to like in years, like I can go back and see like, what we were going through during COVID, I can see what I was writing down. And, so it's even, I mean, I think, in real time back then I was having these things that I was like really learning how to receive feedback and be proactive about receiving feedback and then implementing some of that feedback. But then it's funny because, 6 years later you go back and read stuff and you're like, oh, I need a refresher on that.
Yeah.
It's
really good.
It's not something that you learn and then you're good for the next 40 years. It's, so it's like you said, lifelong learning. You have to really be open to that.
So, Bo, I think that's a good practical step, maybe more than what I said of like, hey, journaling is a good thing. Not everybody journals. I get this sometimes, but it's a good thing. Just write, because like you're saying, you can go back and look at it and go, okay, I've grown in that area. Yeah. Oh, that's something I need to pick back up. Really.
Well, it's not like, I think journaling has a stigma. I mean, it's not poetic.
Yeah, you're not. Yes, that's probably the issue.
All it is the value I've seen in it is it allows me to, when I'm writing stuff down, really write down what's in my head and stay focused on that for just 5 minutes before I turn on SportsCenter. You know what I mean? Or like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want that thought to passively go away into the cloud before it's on paper.
Right.
And so I see the value in it because like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
While I've got this, because I'm not the smartest guy, it's like, while I've got this, let me put it down. Yeah. You know what I mean? And And then as you write stuff down, you'll see that God will kind of like peel back the layer, and then you kind of, you can kind of build off of what you've written in a way, which is not, I don't have the ability to do that in my thought life.
Right.
As well.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
so take the result, the performance part off of it. Like you're not writing like Ernest Hemingway.
No, gosh, if you read mine, it'd just be different.
You're not having having a famous actor narrate everything you're writing.
No, it's like it's brain dumps.
Yeah,
really,
brain dump.
It's a brain dump.
Yeah, so take the pressure off of it. It's like it could be bullet points. It could be just words.
Yeah, and then sometimes too, I've found that like my journaling will turn into, I hate even say journaling. When I write stuff down, it turns into a prayer.
Yeah.
And it's a prayer that I can really dissect and focus on.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? It's like a prayer that I can like go back and read, and then it's cool because sometimes I'll go back and I don't even remember writing stuff down, but I'm like, oh, that's good. You know what I mean? So anyway.
That's good.
Yeah. It's good.
There's a verse in, golly, I'm going to butcher it. I think it's in Habakkuk, if I said that right.
Where it's reference Habakkuk?
Yep. Hey, well, some call me an Old Testament scholar. No one does, actually. No, but there's something about when you write stuff down, it actually takes the angels see it and can then take it. There's something to it.
There's something to it.
Something to it.
I agree with that.
And along with the processes and develop, but you nailed it. Yeah, that was really good. I'm going to get, because also with writing your prayers too. So that's another level of writing your prayers. I talked about this somebody on Friday. Even it's like Jesus talked about the Pharisees. It was quoting, I think, Isaiah when he said, "You honor me with your lips, but but blasphemy or oh man, I'm trying to remember the verse, but dishonor me with your actions or your life." Right? In our prayers, it could be interesting. We can almost be dishonoring with our lips, but really, when we're really speaking from the heart, when we're basically in our frustrations and our disappointment, can just write out our prayers to God of feeling. You see, David did this. We can then be honoring with our hearts. Mm-hmm. You dishonor me with your hearts. That's what it was, something like that. Like be more real and authentic before God. And there's something about writing it down that helps. I do have one caveat with, and I really want to. This is maybe too much personal experience in my own life, but also some of the guys I've mentored. When you ask for feedback, do not ask for feedback because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Because what ends up happening, Bo, do you know what I'm going for this?
Yeah.
You ask for feedback and then you get feedback and then you interrupt somebody. Go, wait, but I didn't. That's you give the caveat.
Yep.
You give if it's 70% true, if it's 20% true, receive it.
Yeah.
Take it.
Take the truth.
Don't try to then have revisionist history. Oh, I did that, but didn't do that. It's like, well, let me tell you more. Let me give you the whole scenario.
Yeah.
Let me tell you every piece. It's like,
no.
Like just receive the feedback.
Yeah.
Take the feedback. Even if it's, there's parts of it that's not right. Learn how to take feedback. And that's what I mean. Detach your ego. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to perfect package, but learn how to receive it. And it's something, a phrase that we use a lot. You have to learn how to use it in your life, especially if you want to become a good leader, is chew the meat, spit out the bones. Gotta take what's good and then learn to digest it and get rid of the stuff that don't matter.
Feedback, there's zero value in filtering it against what you already think.
Yes.
Because if you're asking for feedback, you're wanting somebody else's perspective. You're not supposed to. There's zero value in then taking that and then filtering it against what you already believe. What's the point?
Yeah. Because this is what I'm sure. It's just like there's been hundreds of books, thousands of podcast episodes of like, in your 20s, or if you want to step into leadership, learn how to receive feedback. Go get feedback in every area, and it's like people follow that by the letter of the law, but not in the spirit of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If y'all know the difference in that, like with that, they talk about that with the Constitution and interpreting laws, like, oh, you didn't follow the letter, but you followed in spirit, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's like learning in the spirit of receiving feedback, receive it, not just like in because you think, you listen to John Maxwell to say you should.
Yeah, well, no, literally.
No offense to John Maxwell.
Well, no, I was literally just going to say that. I think that leadership, a lot like, we talk about journaling have a stigma. I think leadership has its own stigma now because it's been so commercialized in a way. Is that the right word?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's just been commercialized to where it's a hot topic and it's a cool thing to make content about. And most of the content's really, really good. But you still have to like have the right mindset in implementing it, not just consuming the content. Because if you just consume the content, well, then you're gonna know to ask for feedback.
Yeah.
You're not gonna know to like, here's the value in it. Here's the value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're gonna know to like, be a servant leader.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like serving others by leading others, which is true, but like it has been stigmatized in a way. Right. And, that's why I love reflective leader, because I think it's a little bit unique in its name. And I think it encompasses all of those other things that you hear about servant leadership and all this other stuff that you hear about all the time. The reflective leader is like, no, the core of all of this is that you reflect, you learn, and then you lead with wisdom. Right. And you can't learn and then lead with wisdom unless you are actively seeking to drop your ego at the door and really, really do this in practice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that's what I really like about this. It's much more practical than I think a lot of the other leadership content out there.
Yeah.
In a way. Because you kind of get lost in the sauce with all the leadership stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I talk about my dad on this podcast a lot. He's retired. He's old school, best guy I know. And he mentioned this not long ago. He was like, man, he was like, he's been working for 50 years. And he was like, man, I've never seen so many leadership experts that are in their early 20s. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, it's true. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff out there. And I think most of it is true, but there is something to like, don't be an expert on the subject, man. Actually walk it out and see what you have to do.
Yeah.
To, like you said, go through learn how to lose well. Don't just be an expert on the subject. Like get out there and take your lumps.
I mean, I'll say, a lot of this came from because I've just been, I've made the mistake, or I've been I've been in bad situations in organizations where you just had these type of leaders. I've just that's what I mean by when you're learning to be reflective and lead yourself, you're taking inventory of how you've been led and going, okay, most people go, oh, let me just do the opposite of what that guy does. Like, no, that's not being reflective.
Right.
Learn to go, okay, what is my leadership style? How would I handle that situation? Like, that's something I think really learning to do. It's like, oh man, I did not like how that guy handled it that way. That's disappointing. But, I'm not going to be reactive and like, oh, I just got to be reactive and passive and being super nice and about it. Bo lost his camera. I love how you said, take your lumps, man. It's like, that's how you become a leader. You're right. We're so inundated with leadership content, leadership books, leadership podcasts, leadership conference.
It's good. I'm not saying.
Yeah, not all of it's bad.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's just, you were about to say it. Keep going.
Yeah.
There's just value in taking your lumps too.
Just doing it.
Yeah.
Like putting yourself in situations. I think it's going back to the 8th grade baseball or 8-year-old baseball stuff. It's like learn. So this is stuff that as I'm creating leadership content. Is there something about leadership in structure, and there's something about leadership within chaos. Learning, like, all right, you have to. So therefore, putting yourself in situations that just feel out of your control. How do you respond? Not beating yourself up when you don't respond well.
Yeah.
And reflecting on it and getting better at it. But so it's like taking the content that you're learning, whether it's on a podcast or in a book or from a conference, and then actually going and go, how do I actually apply this stuff?
Well, I think that's what's different about your approach. I think, And a lot of the leadership stuff you see out here, which again, it's good stuff. I'm not poo-pooing on the leadership stuff. I'm really not.
Yeah.
But it is, I think what I like about yours is that the core piece of it is go out there and fail and learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of the leadership stuff, it's giving you practical steps to lead well and to have people follow you and to love people and all that stuff. And that stuff is fantastic, but it doesn't talk about, from what I could tell, hey, when you screw up, because you will,
Mm-hmm.
here's how you can ask for feedback and grow from it. And it's about the journey. It's not about being a leadership expert.
Yes.
It's about knowing how to lead or learn from your mistakes so you can lead better as you go. I think that's the difference in this curriculum versus some of the other stuff you see.
Yeah. I'm trying to build the foundational who you are, like stuff, so that you can then go out in the world and kind of manage it.
Right.
You know,
That's the difference to me.
yeah. Because I feel like we are in our 20s and it's just like, oh, just do a plug and play, you know, just framework. And it's like, that's not how it works. That's how life works.
It's a little robotic.
Yeah.
It seems.
I want an outside in approach versus like a habit behavioral adjustment program.
Right.
You know? Which is interesting. So let's end on this, Bo, because I did mention this before we get started. Found it on the gram, which I think I did post it on my story, which on, if you want to follow.
Are you about to talk about the Navy SEAL thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I was about to ask.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect.
There's something too about, so they did a study on Navy SEAL training and why some guys make it and some guys don't, because both the ones who make it versus the ones who don't, both are very disciplined, strong-willed men, right? And so, but they ended up kind of figuring out something called, I think it's a philosophical term, which I'm going to butcher it, but it's like identity-based automacity, something like that. Meaning, the ones that don't make it, though they're disciplined and strong-willed, they're like, I hope I make it, or I hope I have what it takes to make it, or I'm going to try to make it. Where the people that, the men that make it all have this common thing of identity-based automacity, where they say, I am the guy who makes it. I am the guy who doesn't quit. That's who I am. It's like, so when we getting, I guess a way to wrap this up is learning, like we live, especially in our 20s, we're so inundated. That's where, going back to the content thing, I'm sorry I'm hitting on this, but it's so about behavior modification. How do I get that girl? Well, I got to look like this guy. How do I get that raise? Well, I got to make sure they see what I'm doing, and so ends up being more about politics than actual effort, and actual value. Really, at the end of the day, you want to be adding value to others, whether it's in a romantic relationship or in your business relationship. And that starts from being, this is who I am. I don't care how they react. I don't care how they respond. This is who I am. And learning to become that guy, that's the forging process. That is what matters. It's where you're going to stand before God and feel some level of confidence. Like, Lord, I stood on who you said I am, not on I didn't dress it up into some type of behavioral modification plan because I read, every Jim Collins book, every Simon Sinek book, every John Maxwell, and I went to this conference, I went to that conference, I listened to podcasts that everyone gave me a pat on the back because it's like, that's just exhausting, man. Let me just say, it's an exhausting lifestyle. That's a life towards midlife crisis, having shallow relationships. Be a guy that this is who I am, no matter what the result is. Anyway.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And then obviously the natural and how you built the framework, it's built on itself to be this guy is one, faithful son, offensive servant, and then today reflective leader.
Which we'll get into some of what I just ended on in the next two for sure.
Yeah, and then we still have G and E, right? And how you spell it? Perfect. I mean, that's a hard word to spell. It's a little weird. It's French.
The fetch.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But no, this is great, man. I'm so excited. Really pumped about that group. Can't wait.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it's probably going to be too late. I mean, I'll be. Can't remember when I'm going to post this. It could be next week. I post this, but so still can join. You'll miss the first week, but yeah. I mean, it's. But also, I'm laying this all out. It's going to be in August, so this would be a more comprehensive. I don't want to say intensive, but it's a comprehensive thing that's just going to be ongoing. That you can join at any point anyway, because it's what I really wish I needed to hear. It's like more and more I'm getting this point, Bo. And this was great. I went to a great men's conference in my church, and the speaker was great about this. It's like men, we're so in. It's like it's this constant thing. We're not doing enough. It's that message that constantly doing. You got to show up more, do more. Be this guy, do that. Behavior modification stuff. And it's like we need more and more permission from other men, especially men gone before us, of just like, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Keep showing up. Keep, it's like there's permissional thing. Like one thing he said that was interesting, and this is not for everybody, but I was like, that took, I'll say a personal thing, was like, he said, like, I think metrics are evil. He had a whole mess. One of the messages was 4 sessions, and he had a message on just play, this development of men's brains and creativity, and the bonding of relationships comes from men when we just like go hang out and do fun stuff. And it's like, oh, but we've lived in a society, we're not allowed to do that. You got to be more serious. You got to get serious about your life. You got to do this. But it's like our relationships are not, and therefore men's mental health, you're seeing depression, suicide, all sorts of stuff well, I shouldn't say going down, it's going up, right? And then the mental health part's plummeting is because we don't have this concept of just with other men, that bonding, whether it's exercise, playing golf, playing athletics, or playing cards, or whatever you're into, of just with other men, that just, there's no specific result. We don't need a metric. We don't need a KPI or how many steps did you walk, or are you lifted more than you did a month ago? Like all that nonsense. Mm-hmm. It's just like how, we need that, especially as you get older in your 20s, you're fine. That's what's interesting about the 20s and early 30s is you're starting to realize, oh, life is not college. I don't have this natural community always around me that's being created for me. I have to go find it. And so like you start realizing like, man, I need other men in my life and I have to go get it, And so like there's something about finding a group of men, not just, one, getting in the Bible and having accountability and you bouncing really like life stuff, living life a lot, but also just fun.
Yeah.
So anyway, and I feel like the giving you guys permission to do that is so key.
Yeah.
And hopefully as we continue to go through this, it's like the permission to just go, yeah, I don't have to read the next book comes out. I don't have to listen to the next have to. Oh, you got to do that. It's like, man. Anyway.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You got anything else, Bo?
No, it's good. Perfect.
Hey guys, Cartwright here. Excited about what we're doing in Men Are Forged. If you want to participate in one of our episodes, please send in a question. We want this podcast to answer the questions you're asking in the description. Click that link. Hey, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.